Today I'm going to show you 3 of the clearest signs that a woman is already feeling that spark of desire inside her. But don't rush through this because the third sign is the one most men experience in real life without even realizing what it means until much later. It often happens right in front of them, completely unnoticed. Before we get into the signs, there's something you need to understand first. If you've missed moments like this before, it doesn't mean you lacked confidence, awareness, or attraction. The real issue is simple. No one ever taught you how female desire actually communicates itself, and it doesn't speak the same language as male desire. For a man, attraction is usually direct. When he feels it, he tends to act on it clearly and quickly. But for a woman, desire is more layered. She observes, she tests, she creates emotional space, and she watches how you respond. Thoughtful. She doesn't always step forward directly. Instead, she opens a door quietly and pays attention to whether you naturally step into it. From an evolutionary point of view, this makes sense. For a very long time, female psychology developed around safety, selection, and emotional certainty. So instead of expressing desire openly and instantly, it became more subtle, more intuitive, and more indirect. That instinct still exists today, deep in the subconscious. So when she feels attraction, she rarely announces it. She signals it, quietly, subtly. And if you don't understand those signals, you can easily miss them even when they are right in front of you. Signal number 1. She starts initiating touch without any real reason. This isn't random or accidental contact. It's not the usual polite or social kind of touch. There is a difference in intention and timing. She might touch your arm while laughing, lightly tap you during conversation, or find small excuses to be physically closer to you. What matters most is not just the touch itself, but how it happens. She doesn't strictly need a reason to do it, yet she still does it. And often she repeats it. In many cases, she allows the contact to last slightly longer than necessary. Her hand doesn't immediately pull away. There's a subtle pause, a fraction of extra time where the connection stays alive. That small delay is meaningful. It reflects a shift in her comfort level and emotional pull. It's not just physical contact anymore. It becomes a quiet way of exploring closeness. Psychologically, when attraction is activated, the body naturally seeks confirmation of proximity. Touch becomes a way of saying without words, "I feel something here, and I want to stay closer to it." If you recognize this pattern, you'll notice it doesn't feel forced. It feels natural, almost effortless on her part. Signal number 2, the quality of her eye contact begins to change. This is one of the most overlooked signs because people assume eye contact is always the same. But when desire is present, it isn't. Her gaze becomes softer, more focused, and slightly more intentional. She looks at you not just to listen, but to observe, and sometimes she holds the eye contact just a little longer than what the moment requires. There may also be small shifts in how she looks away. Instead of breaking eye contact sharply, she may look away slowly, almost as if she is processing what she just felt in that moment of connection. You might also notice something subtle in her expression, a slight softening around the eyes, a calmer presence, less guarded, more open. This doesn't mean she is consciously trying to send a message. In most cases, she isn't aware of how noticeable it becomes. But the nervous system always reveals what words don't. And then comes signal number 3, the one that most men miss completely. She starts creating reasons to stay in your presence, even when there is no logical need to. This isn't about coincidence or convenience. It's about repetition and intention. She lingers in conversations a little longer. She doesn't rush to leave. She finds small reasons to continue the interaction, even if the topic has already ended. She may ask questions that don't really need answers, or bring up new topics just to extend the moment. Sometimes she adjusts her pace to match yours without realizing it. What's really happening here is simple. Her emotional system is enjoying your presence, and instead of ending the interaction, it tries to extend it. This is the clearest sign of all because it moves beyond touch and gaze. It becomes behavioral. She is not just reacting anymore. She is participating in staying connected. And when you understand all 3 of these signals together, You stop guessing and start reading patterns correctly. Because desire is rarely loud. It doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself quietly in touch, in gaze, and in presence. Everyone has heard of looking with interest, but very few actually understand what that looks like in real life. When a woman experiences genuine desire, there are subtle biological and behavioral shifts that happen automatically, things she is not consciously controlling. One of the first is pupil dilation. It's slight, but it's real. When attraction is activated, the autonomic nervous system responds and her pupils naturally expand. This isn't something she chooses to do. It's an involuntary reaction tied to emotional arousal and interest. Alongside this, her eye contact changes in a noticeable way. She begins to hold your gaze a little longer than what is socially neutral or expected. It doesn't feel aggressive or intense, but it lingers just enough to feel different from ordinary conversation. And then there's a very specific pattern in how she looks away. Instead of glancing to the side, she often looks downward. Not up, not away in distraction, but down. This downward glance has been studied in nonverbal behavior research for decades and is often associated with openness, softness, and a lowered sense of guardedness in the moment. It's not something she plans or rehearses, it simply happens. You'll often see a rhythm form. She looks at you, holds eye contact briefly, smiles slightly, looks down for a moment, and then looks back up again. That repeating cycle can feel subtle, but it carries meaning. It often reflects a quiet message of comfort and interest. Something like, "I see you, and I'm comfortable with what I see." Now we move to signal number 3, the one that most men completely overlook in real situations. She begins creating privacy where none existed before. This is where behavior becomes even more revealing. You might be in a group setting, surrounded by other people, noise, and distractions, and yet she finds small ways to shift the interaction into something more private. She may suggest stepping aside to get a drink together. She might call you over to show you something in a quieter corner. She could lower her voice slightly, leaning in as if sharing something meant only for you. On the surface, these actions can look casual, but when you observe the pattern, they are intentional in effect, even if not fully conscious in execution. What's happening underneath is psychological. Before emotional or physical closeness increases, there is often a need for a sense of contained space, something more personal than the environment around her. She is, in a sense, testing comfort, seeing whether you naturally step into that smaller bubble with her. Because if you do, and you respond calmly, confidently, and without hesitation, the interaction naturally deepens from there. This is where awareness becomes important. Most men miss these moments entirely because they look ordinary on the surface. But behavior rarely lies. It just speaks quietly. Understanding these patterns changes how you interpret connection. Instead of guessing, you begin to recognize structure and behavior, timing and gestures, and meaning in subtle shifts. And once you see it clearly, you don't unsee it. If you want to go deeper into how these dynamics work, how attraction builds, how to respond in a grounded way, and how to avoid misreading signals, I cover it in my complete guide, Secrets of Attraction. In it, I break down not just recognition, but response, so you understand what actually strengthens connection in real situations. Before you go, keep this in mind. You didn't miss those moments because you lacked something. You missed them because no one ever explained the pattern behind them. In conclusion, what you need to understand is that attraction is rarely as random or confusing as it first appears. Most of the uncertainty comes not from the situation itself, but from not knowing how to read the subtle language behind human behavior. When you begin to understand these signs, everything that once felt unclear starts to form a pattern. What we've talked about throughout this entire message is not theory meant to impress you. It is observation of how emotional and psychological attraction naturally expresses itself through behavior. Desire does not usually arrive in loud declarations. It doesn't always come in direct words or obvious confessions. More often, it reveals itself quietly through small shifts in touch, gaze, timing, and presence. When a woman feels something genuine, it shows in her body before it ever becomes a conversation. The way she touches, the way she looks, the way she lingers, and the way she creates space around you all begin to change in subtle but consistent ways. None of these signals exist in isolation. They build on each other, layer by layer, until a pattern becomes visible to someone who knows what to look for. And that is the real shift here. Not just recognizing individual signs, but learning to see the structure behind them. Because once you understand the structure, you stop overthinking every moment. You stop turning every interaction into confusion or self-doubt. Instead, you start noticing consistency. You start seeing intention where you once only saw coincidence. This awareness also changes your internal state. When you are no longer guessing, you become more present. You are not rushing to prove yourself or forcing outcomes. You are simply observing, responding, and staying grounded in the moment. That calm presence in itself becomes a powerful part of how connection develops. But there is something even more important to take from this. Understanding these signs is not about control or manipulation. It is not about trying to force a reaction or manufacture attraction where it doesn't exist. It is about awareness, about recognizing what is already naturally unfolding in real human interaction. Because when attraction is real, it does not need to be chased. It becomes visible through behavior. And when it is not there, no amount of interpretation or effort can replace it. This clarity protects you from misunderstanding situations and also from investing energy where there is no mutual connection. At the same time, it helps you become more grounded in moments where there is real interest. Instead of second-guessing or hesitating, you begin to trust what you observe. You respond with calm confidence rather than confusion. And that difference alone changes the entire direction of an interaction. So, the real takeaway is not just about learning 3 signals. It is about learning to see people more clearly without distortion from fear, hope, or assumption. It is about replacing overthinking with awareness and replacing uncertainty with observation. When you reach that level of understanding, you no longer rely on guesswork. You begin to notice patterns in real time. And that awareness naturally puts you in a stronger, more composed position in every social interaction. In the end, nothing about this is about chasing something outside of you. It is about refining how you see what is already in front of you. And once you can do that consistently, your entire experience of connection becomes clearer, calmer, and far more intentional.